I'm Fergus Crawley and I'm currently training for a 250km ultramarathon in one go, alongside doing my best to hold on to a 600 kilo plus powerlifting total. Obviously, to be able to effectively balance those two training demands, I need to manage my time really quite well. So if you're looking to take on some big, hairy, scary, intimidating goals this year, then these are the things that I recommend you consider to manage your time around training effectively.
So whilst I'm at risk of sounding like your mother, the first thing to consider is to be prepared, and that means laying your stuff out the night before, preparing food in advance if you can, knowing where all of your kit is so you can grab it and get out the door. If you structure in training, you want to reduce the friction around it as much as possible. So make sure that you know where everything is, make sure that you know what you're doing, obviously have a training plan to work from, don't just make it up as you go, because if you leave yourself too much wiggle room, as human beings, we'll often take it. Do 5 minutes in the morning before you leave for the following day, even however you want to structure it around your family life, your day-to-day, whatever it needs to be prepared for your training, reduce the friction, and it'll make everything else easier. Whenever I get to the office, the first thing I'll do is review my Whoop data, starting off by filling in the journal, giving it a little bit of context as to why the data might be the way that it is, because it'll total that up over time and give me insights at the end of the year on a monthly basis as to what I can change to mitigate some of the challenges that I'm facing with my recovery, sleep, and just general day-to-day mood. Woke up with a 52% recovery score after not much sleep because I was picking Erin up from the station quite late. Woke up feeling okay though, which is good. So what I'm really keen to do on days like this is make sure that as I'm exerting myself, I get to bed earlier. I don't ever let Whoop become gospel. I don't ever let it become what dictates what my training looks like. I stick to my training plan as that accounts for sort of fatigue management and lifestyle factors anyway, but I will then use Whoop to inform what my evening looks like, what my habits look like, what I can control around the training so that I'm optimizing my sleep first and foremost, nailing my nutrition, and therefore improving my overall recovery. Sleep score 48%, which honestly could have been worse given how late I got to bed versus my usual boring 9:30. 52% recovery score, but primarily I love using Whoop just to keep on top of my sleep and manage that across the week. If you would like to do the same, you can get your first month free and try it for up to 30 days with the link in the description down below, and you'll be helping the channel out in doing so. So let's crack on with the rest of the day.
So I'm in the office this morning to grab a few bits ahead of heading to South Africa on Monday, as well as grabbing a GoPro for the running segment of today. However, this is in fact not my GoPro 11, this is a GoPro 8 that I've managed to retrieve from the depths and archives of the building. So I really should acknowledge the sheer irony that in a video that I'm filming about time management, I have failed on equipment management, as I'm pretty convinced I've left my GoPro 11 on a plane at this point. But nonetheless, more information on that to follow, as I need to head out west to a dentist appointment.
All done at the dentist, and for those wondering, I was getting a new set of Invisalign trays for this bottom row here. Anyway, point number 2 is about finding the gaps, and by that I mean time blocking in your training ahead of time. Time blocking is a very popular productivity tool, but within the context of this video today, it's kind of all about how to fit training in. If you're somebody that relies heavily on a calendar, then it's very important to have a plan and a structure week to week as to what your training is going to look like. That way, as I do, you can quite literally put blocks of time in your calendar ahead of time so you know when your training is going to be, factor in travel time, and more importantly, it means that if anyone else has access to your calendar, they can't put in time that's going to compromise the time you've set aside for training and cause you to scramble and try and find gaps that are going to be difficult to find. We need to be realistic because there's only so much time in the week, so if you can block those ahead of time by having a clear structure, then you'll be ahead of the game before it's even begun. The phrase I always like to use to reinforce that point is to work with your week rather than against it. If you're someone that thrives on structure and planning, then make sure to have a clear training plan or structure at the very least, and then treat it as you would anything else: work, family commitments. Block it in, find the gaps. So the third and very important thing to consider is to make it a rule / protect your time. And by that I mean when it is time blocked, honour it. Hold yourself accountable to that. If you put it in there, you put it in there for a reason. Yes, life will occasionally get in the way. Your kids will be sent home from school with norovirus. You'll have an argument with your boss, which means you've got to stay behind. All these things that will get in the way, but when life gets in the way, then that's reality. When you get in the way and you make it negotiable once the time is blocked, that's when it becomes a time management and discipline issue ultimately, rather than a lack of time. The other key consideration as part of this is to really make it clear to those around you why training is so important to you, what value it gives you that can be reflected into the household, into the workplace, so that they can understand why it's important that when the time is blocked in your calendar, which they may well have visibility over, it should be a non-negotiable. Erin, my wife, very much understands that from my perspective and knows how valuable mornings like this are to me for my own mental health and clarity and resetting on the week. So time blocking is one thing, but honouring it, holding yourself and those around you accountable to it is another, and that is very important. Okay, bit of an incline, and I'm walking them just to really get into the rhythm and the shuffle that I'll be executing when it comes to running 250k in one go. So thought I would touch in on point number 4 whilst we are here, which is to essentially learn from yourself and plan accordingly. And by that I mean, we all know there's certain times of the day where we're more excited and more compliant with doing certain things from a training point of view. I know that if I haven't done my training first thing in the morning, if I've got 2 sessions to get through, even if I nail one at lunchtime, I'm really not going to want to do the one in the evening, which means I'll often spend a little bit more time dilly-dallying, procrastinating around it, which means I can arbitrarily lose half an hour. And that's just human behaviour. There might be some of you watching go, ooh, discipline, yeah man, but that's not actually going to help anyone, because we're all human beings and we will have peaks and troughs. Especially if you're training for something that's really, really draining and demanding. Learn from yourself. If you're really excited and undistracted in the morning with your training, then try and time block it in the morning. If you've got double days and you know that you're like me and you really want to free up the evening for family, additional work, side hustles, 5-a-side, whatever it might be, even just sitting in front of the TV, I don't care, then try and work your day so that you can get the most out of yourself from a compliance with training point of view. Because yeah, you're probably thinking right now, oh yeah, I definitely do feel better training in the morning. Do the work and try and structure things and set things up so that you can hold yourself accountable to what you know is good for you, will make you feel best, and ultimately you're most compliant and consistent with. The incline ended a while ago actually, so probably should have started running, but thought for the sake of the point, I'd hold off as we're coming into another incline. Brilliant, brilliant. Turned into a chilly but beautiful winter's morning, so having a good time. I'm having a good time, and this is making me very excited to be in a beautiful but not so chilly setting in Cape Town. So we'll see what that entails, eh? What a stunning run this has turned out to be. Side note, something I found really valuable as part of this ultra prep so far, and in the past to be fair as well, when pacing metrics aren't as important, it's just about aerobic development and getting comfortable moving forwards, is simply having navigation on my watch, no live metrics, so that I'm just basing everything off feel. I don't know how far I've travelled thus far. I don't actually know how long I've been running for. I just know what direction I need to be going. And I think that's taking some of the slightly more serious side of training. And I think when I get into that headspace, it makes days like today really enriching and rewarding, rather than head down focused training sessions. They're obviously very much stimulus and adaptation focused, but I can enjoy the process a lot more when I don't feel that I'm holding myself too accountable to data. And it's quite nice to be feeling really good, enjoying the morning and not knowing how far or little I've got left. Against the background of the Forth road bridges here, I thought I'd touch on point number 5, which might not be as relevant to as many of you as other points are, but definitely something to consider, and that is to delegate. I know what you're thinking, well, Fergus, that's not relevant to me. I can't afford to hire somebody. I don't run a business. Why is delegating something I should consider? Well, the equation to bear in mind is to determine what you see the value of your time as in currency form. So here in the UK, we use pounds. Let's say for sake of argument, I value my time at £20 per hour. Therefore, if there's something that I don't enjoy doing that is cheaper to outsource per hour, then I've started outsourcing and delegating that elsewhere. Obviously within the context of business, I can do that from a hiring perspective as well. But in my personal life and time management, generally speaking, that's the equation I always keep front of mind. And that might not be as relevant to you now as it might be in the future, or it might be something you're already doing. But if that is something that's getting you more time on a Sunday afternoon with your family, that might be what helps bring you and your family online for you to go and spend 3 hours training on a Saturday morning, for example. So try and keep that equation in mind. Appreciate that that might not be as relevant to everybody watching as others, but something that I really keep front and center of my decision making, and it might help you too.
Okay, back at the car, having cut the run a little bit short, just because I'm a little bit tight on time to get to the other side of town on foot, given that the dentist overran a little bit longer than I expected it to, and I was moving at a very steady pace, but all in all, feeling pretty solid. Niggle I've got in my hip is a little, it's not, I wouldn't say aggravated, it's just a little bit, I'm more aware of it than I was when I started running, so not the end of the world. I've called things a little bit short. Meant to be running about 30k tomorrow as well, so I'll have to make a call this evening, early tomorrow morning, on whether that's still wise to do with the hip, ahead of flight, travel, etc, etc. But we shall see. Anyway, what you're really here for is point number 6, and that is to compromise and accept reality, which is that with all the will in the world, there is only so much time and availability that we can maximize. And you cannot do everything all at once, and that is a reality that we must accept. So that's why it's important to be practical, realistic about looking at the week, looking at where the gaps are, time blocking things in, being sensible, making sure that you're finding time to spend time with people you care about, making sure that you're being logical about why the day is structured the way that it is, so that you're getting the most out of all of the facets of your day-to-day existence without just constantly punishing yourself for not feeling that you're doing enough. There is a downside to the quest for productivity and quest for optimization that the internet loves to talk about these days, and that can be the feeling that you're never doing enough or you're never working hard enough, when in fact you're actually squeezing all of the blood out of the stone. So be realistic, be practical, and hold yourself accountable to how you feel and what you know is your true max output. Obviously do what you can to streamline and make things more efficient around the edges, but if you see somebody on the internet training 12 times within the context of a week, but their work and family existence is very different to yours, then there's no merit to comparing how you should be doing things to how they're doing things. And I think that's a really important thing to take away. Be your own hero. Try and mold the best version of yourself within the circumstances and context that you have available to you. That's what I try to do on a day-to-day basis. Comparison isn't really going to get you anywhere. You should take lessons from others and examples from others and mold them into your own existence to get the best out of you and those around you. And that is a really important thing to finish on, because compromise and accepting reality is a huge part of effective time management. You cannot do it all, which I guess is very fitting from a hybrid training point of view as well, because as much as you want to be Usain Bolt, Messi, Ronaldo all at once, ultimately you can't do that, because you need to be specific and you need to be direct in what you're focusing on. Anyway, that's today's video. I need to get to the travel clinic to get all malariaed up, probably not malariaed up, actually malariaed down, shall we say, ahead of a trip to South Africa. So I will be filming some bits out there, as well as confronting my biggest fear. Watch this space. Just a reminder to please check out Whoop via the link in the description down below if you would like to give it a go. Sign up for 15 resilience hacks delivered straight to your inbox via the link in the description as well, and comment with your thoughts, feelings, suggestions, or anything else down below. Please like the video, make sure that you've hit subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.